Well, welcome everyone. My name is Dr. Kurt Fisnick, and tonight on our call, on the weekly Sisel World Team call, it's the last Friday of the month here up in the States. It's the last Saturday of the month down in Australia. And what we do on the last week of the month is we always share our stories. We have a call where we bring people on that have had exciting stories to share with us, and so that's what tonight's call is all about. And we want you to get this call out to people and let them know what's going on. Sometimes I think that people don't realize how important testimonials are. And so I made this quick slide, and when we take a look at it, you know, products like what Sisel has, they're life-changing products. And people say to me all the time, they say, well, if they're so good, how come you don't sell them in a store? And the thing about it is that if you just threw them on the shelf at a superstore and they were just sitting on the shelf, that's what they would do, is they would sit on the shelf and nobody would know what they were. And by the time it was discovered, it'd be too late, right? A lot of people would not find out about them. And we're not paying actors. Like here, I got a picture of Mr. T. I don't know if you guys remember that commercial, you know, where he told us to eat Snickers and things like that. And then you have the other guy, you know, telling us about McDonald's French fries. You know, and a lot of times when you think about it, they're probably making commercials for products that they don't even use themselves, right? And so what I try and tell people is that when you hear the stories like what you're going to hear tonight, these are real stories. I tell people, be honest, don't make up anything, and just let people know what you've discovered, what you're finding, and how it changed your life, and then go out and share them with other people so they know what we're doing. And so that's really what tonight's call is all about. Again, now my slide is acting up. It's locking up. So anyhow, we'll leave it with that, and until I can get the slide to go. There it goes. So we're going to hear from real people, and I just really say, don't just take my word for it. Listen to what real people have to say, and we'll talk about what they have to say. So first, what I'd like to do is I'm going to run out and I'm going to talk to Ignatius and Anola. I think I unmuted the right number. Are you there, Anola?
Yes, I am.
Oh, perfect. I did unmute the right number. You know, and I know your testimonial is a recent one. Your husband just really in the last 6 weeks, he's really started to have changes since he went on a full dose of the H pill. Would you share with everybody kind of a little history of what your husband was suffering from and what he's noticed since he went on a full dose of the H pill?
Sure. He had back surgery about 3 years ago and ended up with MRSA, and he was very, very sick. After that, with the recovery and whatever, he never did really pull out of it. And then he's most recently, the last 6 months, 8 months, the kids have noticed, and I did too, that he was not remembering anything. I do most of the driving because he didn't know where he was at. But the big thing was he had no ambition. He was always a busy guy doing something, and I would say, at least 20 to 21 hours out of the 24, all he did was slept or sat on a chair and watched TV. There was no life in his eyes. There was nothing. And then I had actually spoken to you, and you suggested to put him on 12 pills a day of the H pill. So that started May 15th. And within 2 weeks, we noticed a big difference. He is still on 12 a day, and last night we've been doing some traveling, so we didn't get a lot of good sleep. Today he cut lawn, he cleaned up in the yard, and the other big thing that I noticed is when I am driving, I'm so used to looking over and having him sleep, and now he's awake all the time. And he's just ecstatic about how he feels and how much energy he's got. And how he's come around. So that's our story, and we're very pleased with it.
Well, you know, and Nola, as a result of your husband having those great results, what did you do? What did you do for yourself? What did you decide to do?
I, as of June 15th, I started on the full dose also. He's 75 and I'm 71, so I let him get going first, and then I started on the full dose also, and I have noticed ambition, more like what we used to be at, and not as far ahead as he is, but I've got some ambition. I feel like doing things. People say our eyes are clearer. That was another thing, and he had gone to the eye doctor, and he said his eyesight was getting better. And so it's got to be from that. But yes, I am on the age pill now also, and I'm seeing some results, and I'm hoping to see more. I'm sure I will.
Well, excellent. Well, thank you. And then make sure and give your daughters a big hug, and thank them for giving you some extra capsules for Mother's Day and Father's Day.
Oh yes, we got 5 or 6 bottles of the age pills, and I think it was 1 or 2 of the Balance D from our children, from our girls, for Mother's Day and Father's Day and my birthday. So that was a big help. They wanted us to start it, and that's what we're doing. So we're very happy with them also to help us out like that.
All right. Well, yay! And what a great gift of health. Thanks for sharing with us.
Absolutely.
And I'll probably get you back on maybe in 3 to 6 months and just kind of see how everything's progressed.
That sounds wonderful.
All right. Thanks, Nola. All right. So now we're going to run over to, we'll go down to Australia. I'm going to hand the phone over to Katie. And Katie, if you want to introduce a couple of your guests.
Thanks, Kurt. Okay. So we've got Susie on the line. And Susie's had some pretty amazing results for herself and for her mother. So we're really excited to hear what she's got to share. So thanks, Susie.
Susie, if you want to hit *6, I don't know which phone line is yours.
Probably helps if I unmuted myself.
There you go. We got you.
Can you hear me?
Loud and
Excellent.
clear.
Excellent. And the Aussie accent isn't too thick?
No, not at all.
Good. Excellent. Okay. Thank you, Katie. Yes, I've had some pretty amazing results. And to be honest, I've sort of held off jumping up and down with excitement because I'm the sort of person, I'm a big believer in empirical data and research in the field. So I've been on age pill since October last year. I started my triangle July last year. So I started with the triangle first, and then I reduced the amount of inflammation in my system. And then I started age pill, like I said, in October. Introduced the bathroom products, progesterone cream, Super Omega, and then Ripped in Eternity came a little bit later in the year for me. And because I was having such tremendous results and a big turnaround in my health, I started to smuggle some of these products into my mother, who is in a high care, aged care facility. And while I didn't want to disturb her pharmaceutical regime, she was desperately in need of proper nutrition. And even though she was eating well, she was suffering from a cellular malnutrition. So her turnaround is absolutely phenomenal, as is mine.
You bet. And
Susie?
Oh, go ahead. I'll hand it over to you, Katie. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. Susie, can you share a little bit about, you said, your health improved. Can you share what challenges you've faced and you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, sure. My story is actually on the Sisel site and it'll be on my Facebook page. And look, it's pretty much littered with some fairly traumatic stuff. Just recently, for almost 2 years, I've experienced a form of what they call intermittent tetraplegia, resulting osteoarthritis. I've also had 2 holes. I've had a hole in both my macula, in my eyes, from prior head injury and 2 stroke events. and I also had a degeneration of the lipid eyeball layer just due to environmental damage, and having been a trade painter and done carpentry for many years. So I've had 4 bulged discs in my neck, 2 in my lower back. I've had a sacroiliac stretch which resulted in loss of movement in my right leg at times, so I had periods of immobility. Every day was pretty much spent in just a baseline level of pain. And I was saying to Trevor the other day, Katie, that it's not so much the addition of things, it's the absence of things. It's the absence of that grinding pain. It's the absence of fatigue. It's the absence of not being able to see in the dark. It's the absence of just some days I would even struggle to even find a reason to get out of bed. This is how down I was. But once I took my first sip of Fucoid July last year, I knew that my life was just going to change.
Fabulous, thank you. And with your mother, what sort of challenges? Obviously, she's older and faces challenges there. So, what specific things did you notice from where she was to what's going on now with her? If you don't mind sharing.
Okay. Well, Mum's 90. She turned 90 this year, and she had a stroke a fairly big stroke in July 2015. So over the 3-year period, Mum had steadily, we tried to rehabilitate her as much as we could, but it wasn't until we started getting her onto the Sisel product that her rehabilitation really stepped forward in leaps and bounds. They say on Mum's care plan it lists her as having vascular dementia, and the aged care industry will tell you you cannot come back from vascular dementia. And when I was doing my Certificate 4 in Leisure and Health, we did a big unit on dementia, and that course also involves 120 hours of placement in an aged care facility. It's an absolute eye-opener. I can tell you now that my mother is one of the more fortunate ones because she's getting Age Pill, Brain Vitality, she's getting Eternity and Spectramax, and any time the nurse takes Mum's observations, her oxygen saturation is absolutely off the charts for somebody her age. She is off all of her pharmaceuticals. She is steadier on her feet. She can concentrate for almost 2 hours on a painting activity now. Her skin is improving. Wow. Her age spots are fading. Her hair is turning dark. I mean, and everyone goes, oh, it must be such good genetics, but it's brilliant products. It's brilliant Sisel products.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
She's incredible. My mum is a really inspiring woman, and she's tough as boots. But she's so thankful to Tom Mauer and the Sisel scientific team and just everybody for being able to bring these amazing products to fruition for us to take.
Wasn't your mom the first woman to drive across Australia on a motorcycle?
Yes, she was in 1951. Mum set off on a Royal Enfield Silver Bullet when she was 22 years old, and she rode from Perth to Sydney and back again. And then a few weeks later, she and my grandfather rode around the entire continent on 2 Royal Enfield Silver Bullets. So, yeah, she's basically a world record holder. So she's pretty tough.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that.
Thank you. That was fantastic.
No problem.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So next on the line we have Tom. So I've been speaking to Tom a little bit, and he's had some real challenges, and he's going to jump on the call today and share what he's noticed with the products that he's been using. So Tom, have we got you on the line?
Yeah, thanks, Katie. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you great. Thank you.
Fantastic, yeah. So just a bit of history with my journey and how I actually started on the Sisel products. was around last July. I was diagnosed with a medical condition, sarcoidosis, which is present in my lungs. And just quickly, sarcoidosis is basically an inflammatory disease which affects body tissues and organs. So it's pretty scary, you know, seeing these white spots in both my lungs and the CT.
Oh.
Hello?
There you are. Oh, you got muted.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Sorry, I lost you there. Anyway, I went to the specialist and they basically said, well, the only treatment is via corticosteroids, which, as you probably know, causes all types of side effects, which for me, that wasn't really a solution or choice. And started going on the internet, doing a lot of research. And I was fortunate to come across a book called When Education Beats Medication by a lady called Danny Walker, who her husband has the same condition. And in her book, she talks about how he went into remission by taking Fucoidan. So this was, you know, something I thought, well, I've got to try this. And so I bought my first few bottles, and what I noticed straight away is an improvement, particularly with breathing. I was able to, I was doing yoga and I was finding my yoga sessions were far better, and I just felt an improvement in general health. And then I thought, oh, I'll try Spectramax, and I had some really good results with that, particularly from an energy perspective. And one of the effects of the condition is coughing, and I found that Spectramax really helped with that. So those products have really been beneficial for me. And recently I've tried the H pill. So I've been on the H pill for the last 2 weeks, and initially I was a bit sceptical, which I'm sceptical about all supplements in general, but I thought I'll give it a go. And yeah, a few things surprised me, because one of the things I've noticed in the last few months that my short-term memory has decreased. Like I'll think about doing something and I'll go into a room and then I'll forget what I was there to do. And I thought, gee, this is pretty, you know, concerning, considering I'm still pretty young. But what I've noticed on the H pill, that this is, my mental clarity and focus has improved dramatically. So I don't sort of have those memory sort of lapses where I forget things. So that's been really good. Also, just a general feeling of feeling calm and stress levels. So getting through work on a daily basis is far easier. Just being able to focus on tasks, energy levels, and my sleep has improved as well. And what I like about the product is that it has a product called alpha lipoic acid in it. And in my research about my condition, this is one product that I've read that really helps the condition. And the other thing I looked at is with the ingredients in total as a total supplement, if I was to individually buy these ingredients separately, and of course cost is secondary to health, but I'd be paying far, far more if I had to buy the individual ingredients. So for me, the H pill, not only from a health perspective, but from a cost-saving perspective, it's a no-brainer. So yeah, I would definitely recommend the products, and you know, it's something that I'll continue with to take.
You bet. Well, Tom, you know, before Tom came out with the H pill, I was trying to put together my own basically conglomeration of the ingredients that were in it, because I'd heard about the ingredients even before Tom started putting it together. And it was costing me $200 a month. And I wasn't getting near the dosage what we are with the age pill.
Yes, yeah. And yeah, for me it was a no-brainer because I was actually buying individual bottles of the alpha lipoic acid, the carnosine, and it just sitting down and working it all out, I realised from a cost perspective, I'd be paying far more. So, but as I said, for me, the cost is secondary, but it does have that added advantage, which is good. So. And the other thing I like about it, this is all based on science. Like there's clinical studies which you would know conducted on these supplements, which actually prove that, for example, cell regeneration and so forth, that these supplements do work. So it's not as if it's not airy-fairy stuff. It's actually, there are studies that prove, the effectiveness of these products.
You bet. It really is. Well, thanks for sharing. Katie, did you have anyone else that you wanted to bring on?
No, that's it. But I just thought I'd ask Tom a little bit more. Tom, I remember when you were really excited and you had just purchased your first bottle of Spectramax, and you emailed me and shared with me that you had just taken your first dose and noticed improvement in energy, and this is just with the Spectramax before Tom even got on board with the age pill. And you were excited because you had enough energy to go down the pool for a swim?
Yeah, you've got a great memory, Katie. I do remember that actually. That particular morning, I was not having a good day. In fact, I didn't go into work. And I was coughing quite badly in the morning, which is an effect of the condition. And I just took I think I only started off with 10 mil of the Spectramax, and that was about 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. And by about 1 or 2 p.m., I had a complete turnaround, and I had this surge of energy that I went to the pool and I swam about 20 laps of the pool. So for me, that was pretty exciting. And I think looking again at the products with the minerals, and I know Tom Maurer has spoken about the importance of the mineral content and how important that, I guess how deficient we are in, mineral intake due to, the food, not coming out of our soil, which, is often sprayed with chemicals, etc. So I really think, again, the contents in the product is the key. We're talking about high quality supplements and ingredients which are really beneficial to our body needs them. So when we're deficient, I believe anyway that this is what causes disease. So I think, and I'm happy to say my order of Spectramax has come in, so I'm going to pick it up from the post office this morning. So it's something I'll continue taking as well.
Well, good.
That's fabulous.
All right. Well, thanks for sharing with us, Tom and Susie, and thanks for sharing your story as well. We're going to run out to out into Nebraska, and we're going to talk to Debbie down there. And I know, Debbie, your story is, when I first heard it, I mean, seriously, it was quite moving. And tell us a little bit about kind of what was going on in your life. What had just happened in your family, and then the diagnosis that you got?
Alrighty. Well, it's been 5 years, so I'm very, very blessed. But June 12th, 5 years ago, my mom got diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. And a week later, I felt a lump under my arm, and they said it's probably a lymphoma cancer. The lump turned out being a ovarian cancer, and they did a scan and found out that I was stage 4 ovarian cancer. Well, actually, they said it was beyond stage 4. It was in all my lymph nodes. And I did not tell my mom. These things happen for a reason. She could not have handled it. She made it to August 5th. Anyway, I called Tom the minute I found out that I had stage 4 ovarian cancer, and he said, "Wow, Deb, that's a tough one." And I started drinking a lot of Fucoidan. My daughter ordered $500 worth of product. She said, "We got to save you, Mom." I was drinking a bottle of Fucoidan every other day, taking the Triangle of Life. And when I had my first chemo treatment, my CA number, which is the cancer marker for ovarian cancer, was over 3,400. And after 3 weeks, it was down to 1,700. And now it's 15. So I give Tom and his amazing products a lot of the credit. Obviously prayers and maybe a little bit of the poisonous chemo that I had to take, but I'm very blessed because they gave me less than 20% chance. And I said, well, why can't I be that 20%?
You
so
bet.
I'm here to tell you the Sisel products are amazing.
So it went over 3,400 to 1,700, down to 1,500 or down to 15?
15. I'm now 15. Normal is 35.
Normal is 35 and you're down to 15. Holy cow, that's amazing.
Yeah. It is amazing. It's totally amazing.
And how long ago was it?
They don't give you, 5 years ago, actually in July. 5 years ago in July I was diagnosed.
Yeah.
So.
Wow.
And the doctor said, I don't think we can do anything for you. So.
Yeah, because I remember when I first heard your story, they told you that you probably had less than 60 days to live.
Oh, absolutely. He said, I don't even think we can help you. He said, we'll try a couple of chemo, but he said, I don't think there's anything we can do for you. And I said, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear, what my chances are. So obviously I called Tom, and I was drinking Fucoidan like crazy. Tom told me what to do, and I give Tom all my credit for being here. Obviously there's a reason I'm here, so I'm very blessed.
Yeah, you're here to share your story. Praise God. Wow.
I know. Sisel is amazing. It's an amazing product.
You bet. Well, thanks for sharing that. Now, I remember hearing the story and I'm so happy to get you on a call whenever I possibly can to get you to share that, because, I just remember you were a goner when I first met you.
Oh yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't a good picture that they were pointing for me. So.
You bet.
And I've had a lot of them in a support group. Out of the original 12, 10 are gone. So they keep saying it's not a matter of if, that it will go back. And I said, maybe it won't. I don't want to hear it.
So the question I have for you, Debbie, is this. You started out taking like really, really high dosages, and I know that you were taking some extra concentrated Fucoidan powder as well. I know that we were putting that together for you. But so now that you've got it under control and everything is under control, and your CA number is down to 15, what do you take on a daily basis now? I know everybody, they know you're not taking the high dose anymore. What are you taking now?
Well, every month I order a Triangle of Life, which was the 3 bottles. I always order an extra Fucoidan. I take the Brain Vitality, Omega, Restore, and obviously I'm 12 H pills a day. 12
H pills a day. Perfect. And you got plenty of energy. You feel like you've got your life back.
Yep. Obviously, the side effects of chemo, I've had knees replaced, which is part of all that. But like I said, I'm here to complain about it, and I'm very, very lucky.
There you go. Well, Debbie, thanks for sharing your story.
You got to make every day count.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Sure do.
I'll tell anybody.
Okay, I'll get you a copy of the recording when we're done too. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Okay, so I'm going to run up. You bet. I'm going to run up to Lisa up in Minneapolis, and I know Lisa. You've had quite a story of your own with the products and how they've helped you and improved your life. Would you want to share a little bit?
Sure.
All right.
It's funny, when I started on the product was 3 years ago, I guess now. And I started on Coitin, Eternity, and Brain Vitality. And I wasn't treating anything specific at the time. It was just really to gain better health overall. So I didn't know what to expect, and I wasn't looking for anything specific. I knew I felt better, and my kids kept teasing me, saying, "It's in your head, Mom. You just think you feel better because you're taking the stuff." I said, "No, you wait till I get my physical. I'll bet you things are going to look a little different." And the only thing I had an issue with was high cholesterol at the time, ran in my family. And I had only been on the product for 4 months when I had my annual exam and had all my blood work done. And right away, my doctor called me with my lipid profile results, and I thought, oh, crap, here we go. She's going to try and get me to go on something, and I really don't want to. And she said, what are you doing? And I said, what do you mean? And she said, your numbers have changed drastically. I want to know what you're doing. Have you started exercising again? And embarrassingly, I said, no, I should be, but I haven't been. But she said, well, I'm going to tell you something. She said, you're going to get this in the mail in a couple days. But she said, your LDL, or your bad cholesterol, has gone from 158 to 119. She said, your triglycerides, which are typically your diabetic precursor, have gone from 105 to 48. And she said, what's really remarkable is you've raised your HDL, your good cholesterol, from 60 to 79. And she said, although statins and different drugs we give can lower your LDL, I've not seen anything that can raise your HDL besides a lot of exercise. So she said, something's totally changed for you. And I said, well, tell you what, it's these 3 products I've been on for 4 months now. And she couldn't believe it. Neither could I. And she said, you're not even at risk anymore. So don't even think about having to go on anything for it. She said, keep on the track you're on, and you're going to be good to go. And then last August, I started the age pill when it came out as well. And I was able to get off my ADD medicine because my concentration is so much greater now. I work through a whole day without going back and forth and trying to multitask, which I'm not good at, but I try and do. It's given me so much energy, and my memory is just, I can't even tell you how much better. I remember things that I never used to remember, and in my work environment, it's really obvious because remembering numbers or remembering clients and what orders were or various things were a big deal, and it was something I've had trouble with for a while, and that's where I noticed just a huge difference in concentration and memory and energy. So, I mean, as I've told you, Kurt, I'll never go off these products, and they're absolutely beyond amazing to me.
Excellent. Well, and I know that you got back into running again and doing some exercise after you started feeling better too, didn't you?
Well, that's just it. I'm all of 5 feet tall, and I had a good 15 pounds to take off, and most people go, oh, big deal. Well, it is a big deal when you're trying to run and you're carrying that much extra weight on these tiny little legs, and and I just I didn't have the energy, like you said, to do it again. It was like, I just feel sluggish and icky and don't even feel like doing it. But it gave me the want to go do it again, and I feel 100 times better now.
Excellent. Well, thanks for sharing that, and I really appreciate it, and all. And we'll get you back on the call later on and have you share maybe 6 months again. Okay?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thanks, Lisa. I appreciate it. We're going to do one more testimonial, and I know we're running a little bit over time, but they're testimonials, so I think they're important here. Let's see. Although I can't, Marilyn, if you want to unmute yourself, I don't see an unmute button on you there, so If you want to unmute, just *6. All right. Well, maybe that's not possible. We'll get.
Yes, I am. I'm unmuted now, I think.
There you are, Marilyn. If you want to share a little bit about what's going on and tell us, I mean, your story is a little bit different. You know, yours doesn't really have to do so much with health, but it has to do with a product we call Organic Cleanse. It's a product that's used for cleaning toxins off of fruits and vegetables. But first, you were telling me a story about how a gentleman was getting, he had this stuff on his hands that he couldn't get off. Tell us a little bit about that, and tell us a little bit about what you noticed when using it in your kitchen on your vegetables.
Okay, Curtis, first I'd like to do a correction. It's everything about health. Today, there's so much toxins in the air, water and ground, and all our fruits and vegetables take this up. The story I told you about was somebody who'd taken a cover off of a swimming pool and it was covered with dreadful debris. He said he couldn't remove the debris from his hands no matter what he used. And then he suddenly thought, well, what about Organic Cleanse? And it removed it instantly. It made me think, what was in the air or the water that had accumulated on his pool cover? That's a really good thought-provoking thing for all of us to understand the importance of Organic Cleanse. I have a healer who's psychic. I put a bottle of Organic Cleanse on his knee and I said, Howard, tell me, will this remove fluoride and radiation out of food? And he sat there and he said, yes, you need to soak for 15 minutes. Well, on the bottle, it says about 5. I always soak everything for 15 minutes, sometimes longer. I'm an avid organic gardener. I have 8 citrus, 2 feijoa, a passion fruit, a macadamia, and a tamarillo, and a reasonable sized vegetable garden. Every bit of produce that comes out of my garden goes through Organic Cleanse, even though they are grown with no pesticides, etc. All the fruit and vegetables that I buy externally, I do the same. I've found some really, really interesting things in my soaking experience. Onions. I'm very selective in the food I buy. I don't generally buy in a bulk packet. I pick individual items. My onions, I find after they've been soaked in Organic Cleanse that under the top layer of skin, I have a layer of black mold. I used to buy white button mushrooms and I was very selective that I picked ones that were the whitest. And when I soaked them, they developed big black spots and holes. Now, I sent Curtis some photos and he didn't have time to make a slide. Curtis, maybe you would like to tell people what you saw in the photos.
Well, I mean, you could see what do you call like black holes in the mushrooms, I guess is how I would say it.
Yeah. It stopped me buying white button mushrooms. I no longer use them. I turned to Swiss brown, and unfortunately they only sell Swiss brown in done-up packages here in Australia. But that's okay. For some reason, the Swiss brown don't react like the white button mushrooms do. Now, over the years, I've heard that white button mushrooms and potatoes get soaked in bleach to make them nice and white. So maybe this is why I have such a bad reaction with the button mushrooms. I have carrots that developed long brown streaks on them. I took a carrot up to Howard and he put it on his machine and I said, what are the streaks, Howard? He said they're nematodes. And when you eat the produce, the nematodes grow inside you. So maybe this is why people have so many parasites. I've had bananas with a big black streak down the outside of it. What else have I had? I've had lots of fruits that I've had and vegetables that I've had reactions with. I just can't emphasize how important it is that we all soak our produce. Tom told us while it's soaking, gently massage it. And I assume from that comment that by gently massaging it, we're helping to release it out of the skin of the products.
Now, Marilyn, I'm going to stop you there, Marilyn, and just say, but it's not just your produce, your fruits and vegetables. You said that you also use it on chicken.
Yes, I just let me say, it's so important that you rinse thoroughly, okay? Now, chicken. I like to make a shiitake mushroom and bok choy soup. And to give it a little bit more body, I add chicken to it. I buy either chicken thighs or chicken breasts, and I soak them in organic cleanse, and I thoroughly clean them. I cut up my chicken and I put it into the broth to cook before I make the rest of the soup. If I use the soaking in organic cleanse, my broth is relatively free of any scum. If I don't, then the scum on the top of my broth is a really dark yellow, and it's awful. It just tells me how much rubbish I'm pulling out of the chicken before I eat it. I also soak prawns in the same way to bring the radiation from the Pacific Ocean, because we're all contaminated with the results of the Fukushima disaster in Japan. And radiation's just as bad as all the other pesticides. Now, I follow Codex Alimentarius, and this isn't on organic cleanse, but in the Codex Alimentarius pesticide committee meeting held in Beijing a short while ago, probably 18 months ago, the committee came out and said that fulvic acid will leach glyphosate and paraquat out of your system. Our Spectramax and our Body Shield both contain fulvic acid, and I can't stress the importance to people of using these two particular products to remove the glyphosate out of your body. They did tests in America something like 2 or 3 years ago, and they found that everyone they tested had glyphosate in their system, including the breast milk of breastfeeding mothers. We are so fortunate that we've got products like Organic Cleanse and the Spectramax and the Body Shield.
Yes, we do. Well, Marilyn, thanks for that. I know we ran a little bit over time. I appreciate you adding those things because, you know, it's important. Like you said, it's important for your health. And I didn't mean to make it like it wasn't for your health, but it wasn't like you had a life-changing story in your health, but you had noticed it in other things. So anyhow, everyone, thanks for being here with us tonight for the call, or if you're down down under, thanks for being with us tomorrow. And I really appreciate it. And I'll get this call posted to YouTube, to the YouTube channel, and have a wonderful evening. Thanks for taking the time to be here and to be part of it. I really, really, really appreciate you. And for those of you listening to the recording, thanks for coming and listening to it as well. Have a great day, a great weekend. Bye-bye.